And we're back on a late night Thursday. We're grateful to see everybody back with us. We're playing around with a few things. I just want to tell everybody in YouTube tonight, just don't affect you folks in Facebook, there is something going on with they're doing some kind of freaky update. I don't know if it's an update or whatever it is. That's why your names are showing up as emails. Whatever email you've got associated with the YouTube channel, that's what's showing up. So, we'll try to recognize you by that. I don't know. They just started it tonight. It wasn't like that last night. But anyway, we're grateful to see everybody. And we've got some things we want to share with you. It's good to see some folks in the house late tonight that we normally don't see. And but we're grateful you're here on Facebook, YouTube, and X tonight. And I want to just thank the one and only Tony Branco. He was with us earlier tonight, did an outstanding job, and really enjoyed the discussion with him, and got a little wild at the end. I just want to say, folks, when we get a little passionate about things sometimes, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. And we're not, if we read something that you say and we want to discuss it and may disagree, we're not disagreeing to be disagreeable with you. So just, I think you've known me long enough. We're going on 7 years doing this. You know how it is around here. We just let it all hang out sometimes. We hug you afterwards. just like my brothers. If you were hanging around us any length of time and watch us over the holidays, you'd laugh so hard. Some of you'd be embarrassed probably because we're McDonald's. You know, we get it from our dad. We get it from our mom. And we just get in each other's face, and we may not agree with each other, but at the end of the conversation, we're laughing about it, hugging each other, ragging on each other, and now we don't let the other ones forget anything. We always save our ammunition for later discussions. I'll call them that, but we still brothers at the end of the night, and the same thing goes for you and me here on this network. We're still friends. We don't have to depart as enemies unless you want to. I don't consider you an enemy just because you disagree. We've always asked you just be respectful, and but please understand it's nothing personal. I do want to address this crime issue though a little bit more tonight. We're going to take your thoughts and we're going to talk about this sedition. I'm going to put a poll in the I'm going to put a poll in the YouTube. Do you think the 6 Democrats who called for the military to not obey orders committed sedition? Simple question, yes or no. I'll start that poll tonight. You can start voting on that. And yes, Tony was great. The host wasn't too bad either, I think. We had a good discussion with him. And but Tony was always great. I encourage you, comicallyincorrect.com. Go to his website. Now, he told you he's got this new book, The Trump Night Before Christmas. And he read us a little excerpt of it that was hilariously funny. And he's got a calendar. And be sure to get that for the holidays. I want to go back to this discussion that we were having about why these criminals are being let out early. And one of these guys that the burning of the lady that we talked about tonight, the man that did that was actually arrested 49 times. I said 20. It was 49 times he had been arrested. Now, I am just a Southerner. I may be a little redneckish sometimes. I may not be the most sharpest tool on the block, but common sense would tell me that if an individual is released 49 times And in most cases, if it's in the same city, it's probably likely the same judge. Not all the time, but perhaps. And then you're going to sit here and tell me that has something to do with Obama policy and the bail system being messed up. I'm not going to disagree with you fully. I do believe that there has been an attempt by politicians on both the left and the right, it's not just the left, to screw around with the justice system. There's a lot of laws that have been passed that have lessened the sentencing guidelines for some of these violent criminals. But unless we've just gone full-blown third world country and we've got nothing but a complete communist where nothing is illegal, and we've gone full lawlessness, which we're border on that, you can't shake the fact that I'm not going to even put it on the judge. I guess it's a better way to say it. The whole system has gotten so corrupt. And with this revolving door, folks, where these criminals are going in the courthouse and they're going right back out 5 minutes later, 49 times. At some point, you got to look at the judge. And I will just give you an example. This lady up in New Jersey, the judge that got arrested for allowing illegals to come in her courtroom and go out the back, that wasn't about the bail system. That was a corrupt judge. We've got corrupt judges on the bench. I don't care what laws are on the books. If a judge is letting somebody out 49 times and then he turns around and goes out on a train in Chicago last night and burns a woman almost to death. She survived miraculously. The one in Charlotte didn't. He slit her throat on the train. Don't preach to me about the system. I get the system is messed up, but these judges, folks, are at the heart of it. The judge has the jurisdiction over the sentencing. And there is nowhere in this country that we've gotten so bad. I don't think we have. I think I'm gonna get a hold of my dear friend Cheryl, Judge Cheryl. Can't even think of her last name tonight. She's comes on our show from time to time, but I'm going to talk to her about this next time I talk to her. Is there any states out there that have no maximum penalties for violent crime? We've not gotten to that point yet. I hope we haven't. So it don't matter what the bail system is. If they've been arrested for a violent crime, then the buck should stop with the judge. There shouldn't be any issue about letting them out on bail. You don't let somebody out on bail 49 times. At some point, there has got to have been a conviction or something. This guy was arrested that many times and let out. If it's once or twice, I'm not even saying twice is good. I can understand a little technicality here and there, but 50 times almost, that's not a technicality. People are dying because of it. And the other situation that I'll just show you the picture if you'll give me a minute here. I've been downloading stuff like crazy to come on the show tonight. We got a lot to talk about, but I'm going to get your thoughts as well tonight. But here is the monster that knifed the lady at Dollar General. There he is right there. This lovely individual. This is from the Libs of TikTok. Her name was Cheyenne Casterns. Let me get my glasses so I can read this. She was brutally murdered, stabbed to death at a dollar store in Florida. Lamar Beasley, who was arrested for the murder, is a convicted sex offender who was released from prison this past July. He was convicted and just let out. Now, you cannot tell me that there are not laws on the books. That's in Florida. I understand the Chicago stuff because Chicago's become nothing but Lebanon light. But this is in Florida. And the legacy media is not going to mention her name. They're absolutely right. But we're going to say it tonight. Cheyenne Casterns' family is grieving tonight. That's a little baby. You can see the baby in the picture right there. Because this murderer was let out. So he went out as a sex offender and stabbed somebody to death. This is why when a sex offender and somebody comes before you in a court of law, you do not pass go. You do not collect $200. You carry your backside carcass to jail, and you stay there for the maximum penalty. And to me, there is no extenuating circumstances that would require you not to. It would not do well for this southerner, this redneck, that some of you believe I'm redneckish, but that's all right, to be judged. Because this crap would stop. This crap would stop. That man needs the death penalty. He does not need to see the light of day ever again. I got money, though, not much, but I got $1 I'll put on the table for you tonight. Not a gambling man, but I'll mark it down that this man will be released again at some point, and he'll do it again. He'll do it again. That's a messed up system. That's the judicial system. That's the Department of Justice. And Pam Bondi is the Attorney General of the United States. And I asked her tonight, kindly, that there needs to be an overhaul of this sentencing things, and the legislators need to take charge. Ron DeSantis is a governor. I respect Ron. Actually, DeSantis has got my vote for 28, to be frank with you. I hope him and Rubio run together. I like Ron. My son lives in Florida, and I've asked him about DeSantis, and I've got a brother that lives in Florida, and I don't hear anything negative. In fact, Florida is not the most perfect state, but Ron DeSantis is doing an excellent job down there. That murder should have never happened. That murder should have never happened. And that's my 2 cents. Now, you don't have to agree with that tonight. You don't have to agree with that tonight. But that is... anyway. Diane, please understand, it's not my YouTube. The YouTube has made changes, and we can't help it. It's just the way it is. Wish we could change it, and I don't think I wish we could change things, but we can't. But anyway, good to see you tonight. Yeah, it's not us. It's definitely YouTube, but I can't nothing I can do about it, my friend. Let's see here. Richard Smith is in the house. Good to see Elaine Wheeler tonight. Debbie Courtwright, Joan Mertz, all you folks over on Facebook. Good to see you tonight. And we're grateful for you. I want to play this clip. I want to show you two clips tonight about these congressmen. And then I'm going to show you the explanation. They're already back in their comments back tonight. Let me put what President Trump did in perspective today. This is what he tweeted out. Now, we played this video. I'll tell you what, let me play the video from last night again. This is what they said. I'm just going to play what they said. And then we're going to read what President Trump said today. He never called any names. He did not call for anybody to be hung. What he said was that sedition under the law, which these Dems don't seem to care about, is punishable by death. And that's exactly right. The Dems felt so convicted by it that they thought that he was calling them out directly because, folks, they knew that what they did was commit sedition. And that's exactly what they were doing. And I'm trying to find this video from last night. I know I played it because we played it on the Late Show Tuesday night, And let me see if I can find it here. I know I got it. And actually, when we came on Tuesday night, they had just came out with that video. Just came out with it. And you got to be joking me. I know I didn't delete it. But anyway, this is President Trump's today. This is his reaction. I'll at least do this. These are the 6 that basically came out, and they called for the military to not obey a direct order. If they don't agree with President Trump, then they are obligated to not obey the order. Now, Tony Branco said something tonight I was right on target with. Me and him, either one. I've never seen a group of senators and representatives, whoever these people are, in any party call for the seditious basically refusal to obey an order from a president. I mentioned the QAnon movement earlier tonight. I'll mention it again. There were some nuts, and that's what they were. They were nothing but political nuts, nut jobs, people that needed some psychiatric help, people that were believing stuff, still do believe stuff. They're still out there. They still post it, that were calling for Trump to invoke certain acts and certain laws and bring the military and let them take over the elections and put him back in power. And you had prophets, you had preachers, you had people claiming Trump was going to fall out of heaven like pixie dust back in the White House. You had one individual in this state that was basically predicting it twice. And when it didn't happen in 21, instead of, again, apologizing and saying, whoops, I don't think God told me this, he claimed God told him Trump would be back in 22, and 22 came, and Trump didn't come back in 22 either. I don't want to get into all that tonight. But no sitting official, to my knowledge, has ever called the military into this. President Trump responded to these 6 today, and this is what he said. I want you to read what he said here. This is off of his True Social account. I'll read it. He says, seditious behavior, punishable by death. This is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up. President DJT. Now, in his True Social post, all he's saying is that this kind of behavior under the law is punishable by death. He did not go out there and say that these 6 individuals needed to be hung. He did say they needed to be locked up. Now, I've listened to since we had our show tonight, I've been sort of listening to the tenor of the media. And even on the right media, some people believe that Trump could have worded that a little better. I'm not going to disagree with that. But the point is, what these people did was sedition. That's my opinion. Now, I know there's others that believe that they were just fooling around. That they were just not really calling for anything like this. Jim Crow, the guy at the heart of this, was on CNN tonight, and they're backing up. They're not talking so tough tonight because Trump's called them out on it. And they know there's a new sheriff in town, and they know Trump's going to do something.
So are you saying that there was not necessarily any particular precipitating event? There is no specific thing out there that made you decide now is the right time?
That's right. To be clear, we are not calling on folks right now to disobey any type of unlawful order.
Sounded to me like you were.
Right? There is very real and deep concern about what this president has threatened to do over and over again. There are 3 more years left of this administration. If we are not talking...
It's amazing how they throw this stuff on the wall like this. You Bible students, you may listen to this tomorrow morning. It's amazing how when they throw stuff on the wall that we are trying to stop what this president is trying to do. We got 3 more years. And they never tell you exactly what he is doing that is so unconstitutional. And when they tell you what he's doing is unconstitutional, it's usually because he's kicking illegals out of the country, which is not unconstitutional. He's basically trying to crack down on crime, which is not unconstitutional. He's trying to balance our budget, get our finances, get our economic status, getting back on track. That's not unconstitutional. He's not done anything toward any group of people. He's been very pro-American. I don't agree with President Trump right now about some of this stuff with Israel. I don't. But I do understand that the job that he's doing overall is a good, solid job as president. He's not going to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. But these 6 feckless Democrats called for the military to rise up, and if Trump gives them an order, for them not to obey it. And they have no authority to tell the military what to do. Mark Kelly is a former Air Force guy. He should know that. Former NASA guy. And this Crow guy seems to be the ringleader. Well, all of a sudden, he's changing his tune and saying, we didn't say nothing like that. We didn't say nothing like that.
About this and having a conversation about it.
Let me back that up. I want you to listen to what he says. This is slander, folks. I want you to listen. Listen to what he's got to say.
We're not calling on folks right now to disobey any type of unlawful order. Right? There is very...
See, he's already framing it. We're not calling on anybody to not obey an unlawful order. Well, what in their mind is unlawful? They don't define that. See, to the Dem world, anything that Trump does is unlawful. Me and Branko were joking about it. When Trump goes to the bathroom, it's unlawful. Trump can't even paint a building beside the White House without a judge stepping in and telling him, you can't do that. The judges have taken over the country. We might as well just throw our elections in the toilet because it don't matter who we elect on the right. It don't matter who the conservatives elect because the judges have declared, well, if you conservatives win, we'll run the country. They never stepped in at any time and stopped Joe Biden from doing anything he wanted to do. Trump's been in office less than a year, folks. And again, he can't breathe. Can't change his tie without these courts stepping in. And
real and deep concern about what this president has threatened to do.
We've got deep concern about what this president has threatened to do. What is it, Mr. Crow, that he's threatened to do? Would you like to enlighten us? He doesn't enlighten you. He just keeps babbling on with his babble.
Over and over again. There are 3 more years left of this administration. If we are not talking about this and having a conversation about it and demystifying this conversation, then we are not fulfilling our duty. We are reminding people that have taken the oath what that oath requires of them to do.
And the Dems have been stoking the fires of anarchy for a long time. Lang, they sure have. They sure have. Let me see here. I think this is the whole tweet by President Trump. Let me read this to you right here. He tweeted this out today. He said, it's called seditious behavior at the highest level. Each one of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We won't have a country anymore. An example must be set. That's all he's saying. That's all he's saying. And when he made the comment, seditious behavior is by hanging. It's by the law. Under the law, a person can be executed for being a traitor to this nation. They can be. I think the only time it happened was actually in the Civil War. Right after Civil War, there was a lady, and her mind escapes me, but she was actually charged with this, and they hung her for aiding and abetting the South. And there was a complicated issue. But anyway, I don't believe Trump was calling for them to be hung personally. Maybe could have worded that a little better, but you know, it is what it is. It just is what it is. I saw this tonight. I like this. It says, helping the enemy used to be called treason. Now it's being called a Democrat. And that's the truth, folks. That's the truth. Now, let me, here it is right here. Actually, here is the video right here. I think this is it. Is this it? Yes, this is the Seditious Six. That's going to be my new nickname for them. I want you to listen to what they said yesterday, or Tuesday. And this is our question tonight. I'm going to play this, and you tell me if you think this is not seditious behavior. Listen to this closely.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
They have no right to be speaking directly to the military in this manner. They're giving them orders. There's only one commander-in-chief. There's only one commander-in-chief. And there's only one Secretary of Defense. There are people that's calling on Pete Hegseth tonight to basically strip Kelly of his military status. I tend to agree with that.
Who take risks each day.
Keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals.
Against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal.
They never define what illegal orders are. What in their world is illegal orders? If Trump feels necessary, and see, some of this is going back to the cartels. These people believe that Trump is acting illegally in destroying those boats coming from Colombia, coming from Venezuela, even Cuba perhaps, and other drug-infested countries, bringing their drugs across our border. And Trump has confronted this directly, and it's ticked off this lawless bunch. By the way, while I'm at it, think about this for a second. We've forgotten about the shutdown that people, this party that these people are part of, deliberately did. This is what all this stuff is about. It's a smokescreen. Epstein is a smokescreen. They don't care about the Epstein victims.
Orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders. I'm going to back that up. Now, he told the CNN lady, we didn't tell nobody to not do anything and not refuse an order. Listen to this closely again. This is Crow, the same guy that was just on CNN. I want you to listen carefully what he said. Listen to what he said.
From right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
All right, you must. You must. He didn't say you might need to. He said you must. Chris is just South Georgia boy. South Georgia redneck. Sounds to me like he's telling them to resist it. But he told CNN, oh no, not us.
Orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
They wouldn't know what the law was if they can't spell the law.
or our Constitution.
Don't say words you don't understand, folks, because y'all trample the Constitution under your feet every day.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy.
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
They are calling for the military to rise up and disobey Trump, and to do this. You can wrap this up in any wrapping you want to. This is sedition, folks.
Constitution.
It's
Who
sedition.
we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Now, question 9. Is that sedition to you? I'm asking you. I know what I feel about it, but I want to get your opinion about it right now. It's 98-2. 98-2. 98. Mary Surratt. Thank you, Carol. That's her name. That is her name. And they are hypocrites. All righty. Now, speaking of hypocrites, got something else to play for you. And I want you to listen to Chris Murphy. This is Chris Murphy Friday. He was at a liberal think tank meeting. And right here, I want you to listen very carefully. I'm going to do this and play Jasmine Crockett, and then I got another video or two, and then we're going to take your questions tonight and talk about this judge. I want you to listen to what Chris Murphy says, folks. This is him on Friday. Now, he lost his lunch today even more than this. He used the F-bomb. I don't know if I can play the other video. I want you to listen to what he tells this guy at a forum in D.C., and listen carefully to this. Roll tape.
What's your take on how this is playing out and why he's acting in
We're talking about Epstein.
incredibly guilty fashion?
All right, let me stop that. Let me stop right there. The guy on the right basically says, explain to me why Trump is acting in an incredibly guilty fashion. What in God's green earth and under the heavens is Trump doing, acting in a guilty fashion? That's slander. In other words, because Trump is not putting a gun to everybody's head to get these files released, he's all of a sudden guilty. But this gets worse. You Bible students in the morning, be with me. We're going to talk about what we talked about this morning again. It's a great example. Great example of what we were talking about this morning.
What's your take on how this is playing out and why he's acting in incredibly guilty fashion?
Well, he is in daily panic mode as we get closer to the moment where these files and the fullest truth that we have available to us is going to be made public.
He's acting in panic mode. Now, how do they know that? That's their opinion. I don't see Trump acting in panic mode. But you just throw crap on the wall, and you've got this moron on the right at the Texas Tribune or whatever this institution is. This was in Texas, evidently. So Murphy insinuates that Trump's in panic mode with no evidence of that, with nothing but just hearsay, nothing but his opinion that he's doing that. And the guy on the right, well, he's acting increasingly guilty. This is how reputations get destroyed. And this is why, and I heard this tonight by a commentator, this is why people feel okay to become Thomas Crooks and take shots at the president and try to kill him.
And it is clearly the biggest scandal in presidential history.
This is not the biggest scandal in presidential history, Mr. Murphy. I would argue that your little leader the last 4 years running the country by auto pen and basically selling this country out. God knows what Hunter Biden and they did with China and Ukraine. And Murphy is trying to make the fact that the Epstein files they don't even mention Trump. They're looking for one name. They don't care about the 100,000. There's 100,000 names, I understand. And it was one post I saw on X tonight, 100,000 names in those documents, because these Epstein files are large, but had interactions with him over the course of his life because he was a philanthropist, a businessman. But they're looking for one name. They're looking for one name. But to Murphy, because Trump is evidently, I guess, panicking, and I don't see nothing like that, but this is the biggest scandal in U.S. history. But it gets worse.
And he wouldn't be acting this way.
He wouldn't be acting this way. How is he acting? See, he's attributing false motive. He's attributing a motive that he thinks Trump has without any proof, which you can't do it anyway. He's slurring the president. He's slandering the president. He's bearing false witness against the president. He's lying about this whole Epstein stuff because his party just shut the country down for a month.
If he wasn't so deeply worried about what sits in those files, what we've already seen is immensely incriminating.
Immensely incriminating. By the way, do you notice he doesn't tell you what they've seen? Folks, if you've ever been the victim of slander, that is a key element of slanderers and liars and false witness. They insinuate that there are things in these files that we've seen, but they can't prove it. They don't show you anything. You just have to take their word for it that it's there. And because if you don't take their word for it that it's there, then they make you out to be the evil one. And this is slander class 101. How this works in this country. Because Murphy ain't the only one that does this to Trump. But it gets even worse than this. I want you to listen to what he's got to say.
Clearly, Donald Trump was at the center of a child sex ring.
Donald Trump was clearly at the center of a child sex ring. He said it. No remorse. There's 15 seconds, about a minute left. Listen to this. That's slander right there. He should be sued. That's a suable offense. That is a defamation of character lawsuit waiting to happen. He should be expelled from Congress. You don't drop that kind of commentary as a representative of the United States Congress on a sitting president, senator actually, he's a senator. He shouldn't be a garbage collector at Motel 6. But let me just pause right here and do a little chit-chatting about this. You know what's bad about this? You had Christians sharing this stuff out. You had Christians probably posting that video on their timelines. I told you Trump was bad. I told you Trump was evil. I told you Trump's a pedophile. I told you this because Chris Murphy says that he's at the center of the child sex trafficking ring and he knows this because he's seen something. But he don't tell you what he's saying.
That is heartbreaking.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. So hypocritical. Oh, that's how all these slanderers and how all these people that do this stuff, they always do. Oh, it's just heartbreaking. I'm just so heartbroken that Trump's a pedophile. I'm just so heartbroken about it.
That the President of the United States was involved in that kind of gross, craven immorality. And it stands to reason that he wouldn't be fighting so hard to spin against this story or bullying Republicans in the House to prevent the release of these files.
He did not prevent the Republicans. He told the Republicans last week before this jackanapes got on his little soapbox, slandering soapbox, he told the Republicans to release everything. He told Bondi to release everything. He needs to be fussing with Bondi, not Trump. Trump ain't the Attorney General. Pam Bondi is the Attorney General. Trump's the president.
Files, if there wasn't something especially and specifically incriminating in...
He never mentions what's in those files. He just insinuates and accuses and slanders based upon what he wants you to believe is in those files, because we will probably never see those files for a while fully released to the public. Folks, this is, again, Slander 101.
That information. Now, I think the scandal in and of itself could bring him down. But we also do have to contextualize it. Because what Donald Trump is all about is protecting the rich and powerful and stealing from normal people, regular...
That's another slanderous comment. He's stealing from normal people. How's he stealing from normal people? What's Trump doing to steal from normal people? Are you seriously saying this, Chris Murphy? Your party
middle class and poor folks in order to enrich the rich and powerful.
Typical Democrat line. Typical Democrat spin. Typical Democrat talking point.
And this is very much part of that story. Yes, I am sure that there are both Republicans and Democrats named in those files. There are powerful people on both sides of the aisle, but what Trump is all about is, not really playing a game based on politics, but playing...
See, he protected himself right there. So he's got to throw a little bone so he don't look like a complete jackanapes and complete slanderer and a liar and a gossiper and a false witness and basically a person that's slandering the president. Folks, this is personal character assassination. So he says, well, I don't doubt that there's Democrats and Republicans in those files.
A game based on wealth and influence. If you have wealth and influence, Donald Trump is going to protect you, and that is consistent through everything he has done during the first 9 months of this administration.
Okay. Now, it was all heartbroken about the Epstein files. This is Chris Murphy tonight. Now, language warning, that's why we do these late night shows, because I figure the kids are in bed. But this is Chris Murphy, the same Chris Murphy tonight, about Trump's comments about the seditious Dems. We can't make this stuff up, as Jason Miller would say. I want you to listen to what he had to say tonight. Cover your ears, because I don't know if they bleep his bomb out. But if they don't, our apologies ahead of time. But this is Chris Murphy on the Seditious Six.
The President of the United States just called for Democratic members of Congress to be executed.
He did not. He did not.
This is not normal. We cannot allow this to feel normal.
What we can't seem to feel normal, Murphy, is your party. The party of Hunter Biden. The party of Eric Holder. The party of Jean-Pierre. The party of Nancy Pelosi. The party of James Comey, who's under indictment tonight. The party of Letitia James. The party of a congresswoman that has basically been arrested tonight for stealing $5 million from FEMA. Nah. The party of Anthony Weiner. The party of Harvey Weinstein. By the way, I don't know if we need to draw this in crown for you, Mr. Murphy, but Jeffrey Epstein was a Democrat. He hated Trump's guts. But I've never seen anything like this happen before, and this is not normal.
As far as I know, has never happened before in the history of the country. Every Democratic member of the Senate and the House, their life is in jeopardy right now, especially those that were specifically targeted.
Trump never mentioned one name. He never mentioned one name. I've seen this play out before, folks. People claim that they are being targeted, they're being attacked, they're being a victim, and they can't show any proof. No names have ever been mentioned, and all of a sudden he's directing his attacks at specific people, and he's going to hang these six and all this. All Trump said that what they were doing was seditious, and sedition is punishable by death. That's all he said. He didn't call for that, but he was just stating a fact that under the law, it's punishable by death. Now, could he have reworded it maybe a little differently? Perhaps. But the message was gotten because the Dems, the shoe fits. If the shoe fits, you might need to wear it.
By this social media post, Democratic senators and House members who were simply saying that no member of the military should act illegally or
That's not what they were saying.
in violation of the Constitution.
That's not what they were saying.
The President of the United States just called for members of Congress to be executed. If you are a person of influence in this country, maybe it's time to pick a fucking side. If you are a Republican in Congress, if you are a Republican governor, maybe it's time to draw a line in the sand.
Yeah. They need to draw bars around you, Mr. Murphy. See, folks, this is why the violence on the left is so raging tonight. You keep talking like this. There's some nut out there that's listening to Chris Murphy tonight. There's some kid, the same kind of kid that killed Charlie Kirk, the same kind of kid that tried to kill President Trump. There's other nuts out there just like them that's listening to this and saying, Trump's evil, Trump's bad, Trump's a pedophile, Trump's part of a sex trafficking ring. We got to kill him. They're listening to Chris Murphy and saying, "Oh my God, the president's going to hang somebody. We got to stop him. We got to stop him." And then the left will let this stuff go on like this and say stuff like this, and then when these attempts are made, it's not our fault.
And say that under no circumstances should the President of the United States be calling on his political opposition to be hanged. We are a very...
I wonder if he felt that way about the way Biden treated the J6ers. I wonder if that's how he felt when Biden was basically illegally jailing people that were just trying to express their opinion. They didn't think the 2020 election was fair. And they felt like there was shenanigans and that needed to be looked at. And some of these mail-in ballots and the way that these mail-in ballots were used should have been looked at. That's all really Trump wanted to do. And that's all the right really wanted to do, is just have them do an audit of these election results in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And people went to jail and got treated worse than terrorists did.
Dangerous moment right now. The president is engaged in the wholesale incitement, endorsement, and rationalization of political violence.
And that's horse crap. That's horse crap. But that's the same Chris Murphy that just Friday, there he is over there, there he is today, basically called Trump a pedophile with no impunity. No kind of conscience. So, I wanted you to see that. I didn't want to play the rest of it. Sorry for the F-bomb. I was hoping they had bleeped that out, but they didn't. But that's what you get. And slander on steroids, Carol. Yes, it is. Now, let me play you one more video. The illustrious Jasmine Crockett. This is Jasmine Crockett on the floor of the House. And let me see if I can find it. Here, right here it is. This is her. I want you to listen to what she said last night. Roll tape.
Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly.
At least she establishes the fact. At least we ain't got to ask the question. At least she can't use the liar, liar, pants on fire defense when people say, hey, Jasmine, you told a lie. Well, at least she's telling you at least her people did this.
Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin.
All right, Lee Zeldin.
George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio. I just want to be clear. If this is the standard that we're going to make, just know we're going to expose it all. And just know that the FEC filings, they are available for everybody to review. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Now, let me go ahead.
Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my...
Somebody named Jeffrey Epstein. So this is how she framed that. And this is what her defense was tonight, because this is Lee Zeldin. I think I've got the post. Do I have the post downloaded? By the way, before I get to that, I've got something Byron York said about well, I tell you what, we'll get to that in a minute. This is Jasmine tonight on the Crap News Network defending that statement, because let me give you the brunt of it. I don't have the text by Lee, but I'll just give you I'll give you the definition of it. Lee Zeldin took a financial donation from a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein in upstate New York. It's not the Jeffrey Epstein of these files. Jasmine Crockett named everybody on that list. She never, ever was thinking about people other than the pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, the dead pedophile. But this is what she told CNN tonight.
You talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney.
By the way, that headline down at the bottom, is nothing but slander. Trump signs Epstein files after trying to kill it. Trump never tried to kill the Epstein files. Trump's always told people to release this stuff. You can blame Pam Bondi for the delay. Don't blame Trump. Blame Patel and Bondi for that. But CNN itself is a slander network. Both take.
The NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor.
There's the tweet right here. Yes, Crockett, a physician named Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who is a totally different person than the other Jeffrey Epstein, donated to a prior campaign of mine. No freaking relation. You genius!
Doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that...
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein.
Ha 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 ha. I never said it was that Jeffrey Epstein. She didn't apologize.
Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specific.
Excuse me. Let me choke on stupidity. They Googled it, and you go out on the House floor and say that all these people that you named, and folks, don't give me a break. She knew who she was talking about. It wasn't about a Jeffrey Epstein. She was trying to make it clear to the world these people took money from the dead pedophile. Give me a break. That was not research, Jazz. My 6-year-old grandson can Google it.
Typically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans,
Oh.
I at least don't go out and just tell lies.
This is the late night McFiles, and I know that the comedians are out there. That's when Fallon, Kimmel, and all these other comedians on. So this is your late night humor.
Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey.
So in other words, she's telling Lee, well, Lee, you didn't respond to this in the right way. All you had to say was it was the wrong Jeffrey. That is such a crock of crap. But let me tell you what's bad about this, folks. Again, you morning Bible students, this is an object lesson. Tonight, you may even hear this again tomorrow. When people's character is assassinated like this, and people say things like this, with no proof, mind you, with no proof, and you throw stuff on the wall about people's life, you see, most people in the country can look at this broad and know that there's just something ain't between the two ears. But there's an element in this country that don't feel that way. Anybody that hates Trump and hates the Republican Party and hates the things that the conservative movement stands for, they're going to listen to what she said the other night. They're going to believe it. They probably didn't hear this interview. They didn't hear her. I never heard an apology from her. She never turned to that camera and said, I'm sorry for saying this. No, she blames Lee Zeldin for his response. And says, well, he should have been more concise about his response. That's what slanderers do. That's what liars do. And that's what false witnesses do. But the damage is done because, see, the recovery of that don't get put on page 1. It always gets put on page 50. And people get crap in their head. And now there will be some people in this country that believe Lee Zeldin took money from the Jeffrey Epstein. You've got people probably that listen to Chris Murphy on Friday, and they fully believe that Trump was at the center of a child sex trafficking ring. Because it's been said by leaders of our country. Folks, this is slanderous behavior. Slanderous behavior. They both should be expelled from Congress. They won't be.
Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people.
At least I wasn't trying to mislead people. At least I wasn't trying to mislead people. I ain't trying to mislead people. Yes, you were. Jasmine, give us a break. Give us a break. You need psychiatric help. You need Jesus, but you need psychiatric help. She's so bitter and she's so angry at Trump that she's willing to say things. She can stare into that camera with a straight face and tell you that she wasn't trying to mislead people on that House floor yesterday. That's the Democrat Party.
Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not.
At least she admits that.
So I will trust and take what he says, is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein.
Did you hear what she just said? That, too, is an accusation. Well, I didn't research it enough to know that, so I'll take his word for it, insinuating that Lee Zeldin may not be telling the truth, that it ain't the Jeffrey Epstein. There's no remorse in what she did yesterday.
But I was not attempting to mislead anybody.
Yes, you were.
I literally had maybe 20 minutes.
So why did you carry yourself on the Senate floor, the House floor, and state stuff that you only had 20 minutes to research and take hearsay and gossip and rumor and innuendo and falsehoods to the House floor, Jazz?
Before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
A registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know.
Well, if you didn't know, then shut up. Let me just be blunt tonight. Let me be blunt. Shut up. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your trap shut. That's what's wrong with our country. That's what's wrong with our country. what's wrong with the church. If you don't know the truth, and most of the time we don't know the whole truth, shut up.
When you search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted sex trafficker.
Within 20 minutes, you could not find that out.
Okay, you can't do it in 20 minutes. You're just making my point, Jazz. Why would you go out there and publicly tell the world then that Lee Zeldin took a donation from a Jeffrey Epstein, knowing good and well you were talking in context of the dead pedophile? Please don't insult our intelligence. Please don't insult our intelligence. Please don't insult our intelligence. Because I have neither the time nor the crayons to explain to you what you did was very ugly and evil and wicked yesterday on that House floor.
Not from just doing a quick search on FEC. So, number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it.
Slander 101. Slander 101. Okay. I've had my 2 cents on that tonight. Roger, she exactly right. She confessed to her lies in the interview without confessing. That's exactly what she did. So did Murphy. Folks, this is what's working right now. I don't mean to get all fired up about it, and I probably shouldn't have said shut up and shut your trap. That's probably a little ugly. Thank God my wife's she's had to get up in the morning, so she's I'll hear about this in the morning. You said that. That's why we do on the late night shows. This is a late night show, and I'm praying the kids are going to bed. So I probably could have reworded that better. But folks, I'm trying to make a point. This is why the left, the flames of violence on the left, are fueling this violence in this nation. Why do you think those criminals are out there on these repeat offenders going out and killing again? Why do you think they go out and commit crime after they get thrown out and they get released from jail and they go out and do the same crime again? I tell you why, because they know they've got an advocate in the Democrat Party that is basically going to, it's a 50-50 proposition at best. They go in and get convicted. If they get convicted, they're out in 3 months, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Some of them don't even see jail. There was a judge in North Carolina here just about a month ago. A kid killed somebody, and she said, well, I just don't want to ruin your life, and you need to have counseling or some kind of crap like that. Put him on probation. What does he do? He goes back out within a month, within the same month, and murders somebody else. 2 people dead. These judges should be in jail with these murderers. They should be in jail with these murderers. Anyway, here's what Byron York had to say. Byron York is a good guy, and he put it very calmly, very beautifully here. He says, Democrat Senator Chris Murphy literally said recently, clearly Donald Trump was at the center of a child sex trafficking ring. This is heartbreaking. The President of the United States was involved in that kind of gross, craven immorality. That is a positively surrealistic read on what we know about Epstein so far, and we know a lot. But do not expect Murphy or any of his allies to stop. In their world, the absence of evidence is simply more evidence of Trump's guilt. Slander 101. False witness 101. Talebearing 101. That's the definition of it right there. Being played out right in front of our eyes. It's amazing how we've been talking about that in the morning. By the way, this is not talebearing. This is this same lady, by the way, she tweeted out in 2022 when they were doing the lawfare against Trump. She was one of the main people screaming about Trump. And when Letitia James was indicting him, and Jack Smith was indicting him, and Fannie Willis was indicting him, And man, they were salivating that Trump was going to get what he deserved and go to jail. She was saying, nobody is above the law. Well, tonight, Democrat Florida Representative Sheila Sherflewis McCormick has now been accused. She's not guilty until she's innocent until proven guilty, but she has been accused of stealing $5 million from FEMA. Dana Loos, her opinion, she says she deserves the full 50. By the way, she can spend up to 53 years in prison for this. This is no small crime. And Dana Lesh, conservative talk show host, says she deserves the full 50 years in prison. People are overtaxed and hurting. And that is what this lawmaker does. I won't read the word before it. It's disgusting. It is, but it's hypocritical. Because these same Dems, just like her, there's 3 Dems right now under federal indictment tonight. Cuellar of Texas, McIver of New Jersey, and now Sherflewis McCormick in Florida. $5 million, folks, that ain't pocket change. That's not pocket change. Couple of other things, and I'm going to get to you tonight. We're going to have a show tomorrow night, but we're going to be talking about the church tomorrow night. We're going to be dealing. This is very troubling. Here is the 3 Dems, by the way, that are under indictment. Cuellar, LaMonica McIver for assaulting a federal agent. Cuellar's for bribery, and now McCormick in Florida stealing $5 million. She funded her campaign with the $5 million, the 2021 campaign that got her elected. If the Democrats, and this is what Eric Garvery says, you can't see the rest of that, he said it perfectly. If the Democrats were in power, okay, and these 3 were Republican, they'd already been expelled. They'd already been expelled. These 3 are still serving. And there's no movement afoot that I know of tonight to have them even censured. So go figure that one. Go figure that one. But nobody's above the law when it comes to President Trump. Trump's a pedophile. By the way, here is the story I told you about with Branko tonight. This is the man. This has happened in Chicago. That lady's on fire right now. There, she survived that. A white lady was just set on fire by a black felon in Chicago with 49 prior arrests. Folks, the bystanders stood by there. None of the bystanders helped. That's the other thing about these crimes. Nobody, people are just watching this go on in our country, this lawlessness, and nobody tries to stop it. Nobody tried. This is Brandon Johnson's Chicago. You Chicagoans got to be proud of your mayor. 49 prior arrests, folks. Where's Miller at when I need him? You just can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Now, on some better news tonight as I close. Oh, we need that. President Trump today welcomed the Israeli hostages back, freed from Gaza. He had this to say: it's a good day. It was a good day for the hostages that were returned from Gaza. Roll the tape.
Hostages. You're not a hostage anymore to me. You're heroes. You continue heroes.
You are not hostages anymore. You are heroes. Play that again.
You're not a hostage anymore to me. You're heroes. You continue
Well done, President Trump. Well done. And this is one of the hostages there. This is Rand, Dror, and Sustasak. Sorry, I can't pronounce their names. Not everyone has come home, but today Elkanah Reem and I had this had the honor of meeting President Trump, a moment that embodies strength, hope, and resilience. This was some of the hostages from Gaza, a beautiful family right there, but they say 3 others have not been returned yet. but thank God for the ones that have been, and so forth. Here is another situation. I'll play this one for you. This is out of Cook County. Meet Teresa Molina Gonzalez, the Cook County judge, that's Chicago, who denied the detention request for Lawrence Reed. By the way, that was not the bail. She denied this. After his 49th arrest, Reed was released and went on to set a woman on fire on the train. That's the winner right there that set that woman on fire. That's the judge that denied the detention request. That's not a matter of bail initiatives. It's not a matter of Obama. It's a corrupt judge who needs to be held to an account along with the killer. I will say this tonight. This is very disturbing. This is not Germany. This is New York City tonight. And outside a synagogue. And there was glass broken, and Hochul even came out and condemned this violence tonight. There was buildings. It was a protest by Palestinians against the Jews. We're going to talk about anti-Semitism tomorrow night on our Friday nights in the foreseeable future, at least the nights we're on. We're going to be dealing with the cults. We're going to be dealing with the anti-Semitic behavior of the country. We're going to look at some of these comments. We're going to address it. We're addressing it on Sunday night already. Probably going to have a prayer service tomorrow night for the nation, so we encourage you to be with us and so forth. And here is actually an explanation of what you just saw.
What happened last night at Parky Synagogue is horrifying. This was not a protest. This wasn't about policy, and this was not about Israel. This was a mob of people openly targeting Jews, a mob that gathered outside a synagogue, chanting, threatening, and intimidating a religious community for being Jewish. Hours earlier, I had been inside that very building meeting with community members, and now police had to form a barrier around the house of worship in the United States to protect Jews from violence. Think about that. This is the same pattern that we saw in Europe in the 1930s. Mobs outside synagogues, demonization, collective blame, and now law enforcement forced into the role of physical protectors of Jewish life. You do not surround a synagogue if your issue is foreign policy. You do that when your goal is to terrorize Jews. This is bloodthirsty, hate-driven fanaticism, and it has absolutely no place here in the United States. The police must get this under control, and our leaders must call it out for what it is. This is anti-Jewish persecution.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And we're going to deal with that and address this more directly tomorrow. We've got a lot of video to show you tomorrow night, too. Listen, we are, it's 12:20, so we're into Friday. I'm going to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If you enjoy the show tonight, not a bad late show. Not a bad late show. Chris was a little wired up, but I've been worse. I've been worse. I'm ticked. I am ticked, folks. We got a country that's hanging on by the thread right now. We just got a country that's hanging on by the thread with its lawlessness. We just do. And these senators and these Congress people that are throwing this stuff out there and slandering Trump, and see, it's a spiritual matter. It's a spiritual matter. It's a spiritual matter. I'll leave it at that. Carol, what do I think about Mandami meeting Trump tomorrow? That's a great question, and I forgot to mention that Mandami, or whatever his name is, Mandami, is coming to Washington, D.C. tomorrow to meet President Trump. I hope, Carol, and I mean this sincerely, that Trump can talk some sense into him. Now, whether Trump can or not remains to be seen. It is a given that there's no love lost between the two of them. But I'll put it like this. Mandami can do his jihadi communist Bill de Blasio type style of government and face basically Trump cutting off funds, because the New York City gets federal funds from our government to help finance its budget in many ways. And New York City can go broke, and then you're going to have a revolt. All these punk kids that went to the poll and voted for him, they're going to find out how just wonderful socialism is in a bad way. That's what I hope. That's what I hope, is that Trump can sit down with him and reasonably discuss what this kid's intentions are and talk some sense into him. I'm going to hold my breath for that. That's what I'm praying for. There's no love loss, I'll tell you this, between the two of them. And Mandami threatening to arrest Bibi Netanyahu, that's how he feels. Look, folks, I know that when you heard Murphy run his mouth tonight, that's how these Dems feel. That's not theater. Jasmine Crockett is that dumb. We shouldn't try to read in more to this and say, well, they're just having a bad day or they were just misunderstood. I hear people out there all the time, well, these people are just misunderstood. No, they're not. That's who they are. This is what those 6 Democrats that were out there calling for basically the military to overthrow the government. That's exactly what they are. That's what they believe. That's what they want. That's not some misunderstanding. The only reason they're on CNN backing away from their comments and putting videos out claiming, well, we really didn't say that, and I can't believe President Trump's calling for our hanging. Well, President Trump wasn't calling for anybody's hanging. He just said that's seditious behavior. And it's punishable by death. That's all he said. He wasn't saying that they needed to be hung, but he said what you're doing under the law is punishable by death. He didn't say that that's what was going to happen. But they use that as this scare tactic, and that's what slanderers do. They play the victim. They play the victim. Anyway, good question. That's a good question. We'll see. Diane, the time of the service tomorrow night, it's going to be a show and a prayer service. I don't know, probably around 9 o'clock. It'll be late in the evening. We usually go late on Friday night. Let's see here. Yolanda, you're right. Murphy knew exactly what he was doing. And I hope Trump, I'm with you, I hope Trump sues him to the very last dollar. What he did was defamation of character. But again, the damage is done because there are people that believe it. He can't, even if he was to get on the television more. See, nobody's called him out for that. Nobody in his party has condemned those comments. Nobody. There's only a few people that have probably, even the host there acting like Trump was guilty because he was not saying much. You can't, one thing about silence can't be quoted or misquoted. You can't misquote silence. Trump has said very little about the Epstein files. He's turned it over to Bondi. But by his silence, they're insinuating that he's guilty because he's not saying nothing. That too is the work of slanderers and talebearers and false witnesses. We talked about that this morning on our Bible study. We're having some good Bible studies. I encourage you to be with us in the mornings, 10 o'clock on the Faith Network. But you're right. I hope he does. I hope he sues him. He needs to. And Lee Zeldin needs to consider a lawsuit against Crockett. Now, what she said, I think it was Leon tonight that said basically whatever said on the House floor you can't sue somebody for, and that is true. So we probably don't have a case there. But Murphy wasn't on the House floor. And Roger, I think your point, I would argue, she actually gave it herself up on CNN tonight. Her comments on CNN were worse. than even what she said on the floor. She as good as said I was guilty. I as good as said it. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. Roger, I tend to, I know what you're saying. Roger Hooker says, I don't think Trump should give Mandami a meeting or raise his statue. I don't think Trump's going to do that. And yes, Marianne, he wants federal money. That's why he's coming. And I think most reasonably minded people can see through that. That's what he's coming. He's coming to play nice to get money. I don't think Trump is dumb. I think that both points are well taken. And Roger, I'm sort of leaning to what you're saying. I think that I don't want. Trump's got to play this very carefully tomorrow because, unfortunately, this kid's going to be in power for 4 years. I mean, it's going to be a Trump will be there for 3, and it's going to be a long 3 years between the federal government and New York City, and I just hope that your point is well taken. I hope he doesn't give him statue. He don't need to, but I think that I'm hoping that he can talk some sense into this communist jihadi, whatever he is, socialist. Well said. Okay, a couple more questions. Jenny Casanova, backpedaling on lies are still lies. Yes, they are, my friend. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Good to see you tonight. Chris Davis says they tell lies knowing that the whole time that some crazy person will believe it and they'll do something. She knew what she was doing. Yes, she did, Chris, but Chris Murphy knew what he was doing. Chris Murphy knew what he was doing. And like I said, there's probably some Thomas Crook out there. There's some Dylan, and I can't even think of his last name tonight, out there that's listening to this. Let me show you that cartoon. We showed it tonight with Branko. He did a perfect, absolutely perfect cartoon. I'm going to wrap it up on this because it's getting late, and we've been going an hour and 17. ICE are Nazis, MAGA are racist or fascist, and Trump is Hitler. The media with the fanning the flames. But let's just be frank with you folks. The media even is beginning to take note of some of this stuff. You could tell Caitlin Collins was not comfortable with Jasmine's response. Martha McCallum basically tore into Jason Crow yesterday on Fox, or this afternoon. He had no answers. He stood there in stark silence. So, yes, the media is partly responsible, but I tell you who's becoming more responsible is Congress. It's congressional leadership. That video that was put out was not media people. That was 6 Democrats. But what happens is it increases and fans the flames of left-wing violence. And it does. And it puts targets on the back of people like President Trump and Charlie Kirk and others. I understand that. Maybe better than others. We are going to have some other news tomorrow night, and we will talk to you about that then. One quick thing, and I forgot to mention this. I don't have time to discuss it tonight. It's disgusting. Another liberal judge, Michelle Cobb, a Biden appointee, has just issued an order halting Trump's deployment of the National Guard in D.C. Do you realize that violent crime since Trump brought the National Guard into D.C. is down 46%? Violent crime. You can actually go to dinner in D.C. now without having to worry about being mugged and raped, mobbed, and assaulted. But this judge thinks that she needs to run the country and stick her nose into that and says, well, we don't want crime to be down. So she tells the National Guard it's time to get out. Somebody needs to impeach these judges, but with the threshold of 67 votes, you're not going to get it done. Not right now. Not right now. The Senate needs to break that filibuster. They need to stop. They just need to end the filibuster and do their job. 99-1. We've got some sense in the people. We've got some sense out there tonight, thank God. 99% of you believe that what the Dems did was treason. and sedition. And well done. 70 votes. And the 1% that don't believe it, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. Carol, you're right. Trying to dig her way out of it, digs herself deeper. And I think the interview with CNN was worse than actually that was actually worse than the stuff she said on the Senate floor to me, or House floor. I'd have just been okay with she just come in there and say, yeah, I thought it was the real Epstein. Yeah, I believe that. And she even insinuated it when she says, well, I'll take his word for it. We're going to deal with this tomorrow morning, but actually in the morning, later on this morning. But folks, it's what people are doing to Israel. The right-wing media, the right-wing podcasters are slandering Israel in the same manner. We're going to talk about that tomorrow night. Roger, I'm not going to disagree with this. He says the Republicans are pathetic. They are. And I don't think he's going to get suckered by Mandami, Roger. I don't think he's going to do that. I don't. I heard Eric Trump tonight. I think his daddy, he pretty much told Laura Ingraham tonight that his dad is very aware of what he's dealing with tomorrow. And if Mandami thinks he's going to come down here and slick talk Donald John Trump, he's got another thing coming. It ain't going to happen. Now, I just got to warn my audience tonight, Trump is not going to probably embarrass him publicly. I would not think he would do that. So Trump may put a positive spin on it, but I don't think Mandami is going to get anything out of this meeting. I don't think he's going to get a thing. That's just my opinion. I may have to come back on here tomorrow night and say, Chris was wrong about this. I've been wrong before. I'm sure I'll be wrong on some things again. Listen, I've been grateful to have you on this Thursday night, now Friday morning. I enjoy these little late night chin wags, these little late night chit chats. And I shouldn't have said shut your trap and shut up. I probably could have worded that a little better. Maybe I need to use the biblical term, hold your peace. We talked about that this morning, that when Jesus was being falsely accused, he held his peace. And Chris needs to learn to hold his peace sometimes. But I think you can handle it. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. Victoria Lamb, thank you. It's been a good show tonight. Thank you, my friend. Marianne, good to see you. All you folks over on Facebook tonight. Lane, good to see you, buddy. Thank God you're doing better. And she is stirring the pot to get the anarchists worked up. Elaine, you know that is true, and that goes back to the fanning of the flames. And so forth. By the way, speaking of Jesse, I don't know if you're thinking Jesse Jackson, he's not doing well tonight. And, it's funny. Jesse Jackson has done nothing but spend his life trashing conservatives, he's not a reverend. They claim he's a reverend, but he's not. But I've not seen one conservative comment out there calling for his death and saying anything but they're praying for him. And they're wishing his family the best because he's at the brink of death. And you see, the reason that we pray for him is because to get in the ditch and act like the Democrats, we become like them. And we shouldn't do it. And I'm proud of the fact that I've not seen too many ugly comments from the right at least. And but he is not doing well. And I pray for him tonight too. I pray that he finds Jesus. And I pray that he realizes the damage. And I mean this very sincerely tonight, folks. I pray he realizes the damage that he and Al Sharpton and other black leaders have done to their own people and their own community. Don't let me get started on that or we'll be here till 3. That's a subject for another time. But he's been a very detrimental, destructive force in this nation because he too has slandered conservative leaders. He slandered Bush. He slandered Reagan. He slandered anybody. Bill O'Reilly and him went at it very bad in the late 2000s. And Jesse was actually, in 2004, when Bush Jr. was running against Kerry, Jesse labeled or launched a campaign against Bush with false accusation. He was really behind the Swift Boat ad, not the Swift Boat, but the Vietnam record thing with Dan Rather, and he was out there spewing all these lies. And Jesse got caught up in a scandal right before the Democrat National Convention. I don't want to get into that. It was a personal matter. But he got basically exposed for being guilty of a far worse crime than anything Bush was being accused of. I ain't no fan of Bush, but what they did to Bush, and that's what makes all this stuff. I didn't mention Dick Cheney's funeral today. That's something too. All the rhinos and all the Dems got together and did a hugging session today at Dick Cheney's funeral, and Bush was hugging necks and shaking hands with people that was cutting him into pieces just 20 years ago. That's the toxic nature of our political system, and it sucks, and it just is what it is. But anyway, listen, it's late. Get some rest out there. Now, you West Coast folks, you got a few more hours before you get some rest. So enjoy your rest of your evening out west. In the East, it's going home time. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Put some fire in that house if you enjoyed the show tonight. I'll see you back here later today, and we'll be back here tomorrow night. A Friday show. We're going to find a name for it, but it's going to be good stuff tomorrow night, so be here with us. We'll be around 9 o'clock, okay? Have a good night.